Ballpark Music. Welcome to Airing Your Dirty Laundry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm so excited that you're here. You're Ballpark is one of my favourite Australian bands.
Thank you.
It's just a big honour for me to have you here today.
My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So I was watching so many interviews of you guys leading up to this, and honestly, because you've been such a band for such a long time, there's so many videos of you when you're such a baby. It's so cute. But there was one interview that I was watching, and Dean was saying that you get inspired really easily. So sometimes he will say something and you will run with it, and they'll be like, oh no, we have to learn a new song. This was in the interview. But I'm a massive Chris Martin fan, Coldplay fan. And I know that when Chris talks about how inspiration comes to him for a song, he feels like it's kind of like a gift that sort of is given. And sometimes he'll just be on the piano and it'll just come out. And I'm just curious, for yourself, because you sort of write the music and then you take it to the band, correct?
Yeah, for the most part. Absolutely, yeah.
So how would you say inspiration finds you, or describe that?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of hard work, just kind of practicing your craft and just applying yourself, playing a bit of music nearly every day and with no expectations. Most days I'll, have a strum on my guitar, I'll play the piano. And then, part of it is what you described with Chris Martin. And I feel like you've always got to be delicate how you talk about it, because you can quickly sound kind of pretentious, but there is, and most songwriters would agree, I feel like there is almost a divine element to it, where sometimes songs or inspiration really does just kind of come and strikes you and strikes hard, and you have to just be receptive to it. Some songs truly are written that way, and I think a lot of songwriters would agree, the ones that come like that are typically the best. It does feel sometimes like something is handed to you and you're just the receiver. Are
there songs that you can think of right now that you remember that happening with?
Yes. Exactly How You Are is a song that just came really quickly. It was definitely inspired by a conversation I had with some friends. Was drinking with some friends, and this guy was there, and he was in a new relationship, and I was just saying, how's it going? And he said, oh, it's good to finally be with someone who likes me for exactly how I am. And it was just such a simple comment, but it struck me. And then I walked home from that little hang that night back to my house. It's late, I'm drunk, and the song just came to me. I just kind of just ran with what he said, and then next morning got up and it was just written so quick.
Really? Yeah. Did you write anything down to remind yourself of the when you got home, or was
I made a little voice memo of me just singing the chorus line. Yeah.
Really? That's so cool. I wish you still had that.
It's probably on my phone. Yeah, we could go digging. It might take a moment, but it's possibly still there.
Yeah. And so then when you do that, with Exactly How You Are, because that song has gone platinum in Australia. I was reading about it, and there's a few others. But wait, what's my question? I've forgotten it. Oh yeah, when you're writing that, do you kind of because it's such a beloved song by so many people that are a big fan of Ballpark, and do you know when you're kind of having that channel or whatever that it's going to be a pretty impressive song? Are there songs that you're?
Yeah, not always. I'd say for the most part, I have the more typical artist personality, which is extremely hard on oneself and have a low opinion of most everything you're doing, which is exhausting. But yes, that song is an example. And I guess that's where, again, kind of sounds pretentious, but that almost divine feeling of I didn't write this. This is just happening really fast and really easily for some reason. And I also, for some reason, have a confidence about it. That was one. You can never know, but that was one where I had a strong feeling I think this is just good and simple straight off the bat. And everyone I shared it with seemed to quickly have the same opinion. So it's awesome when that happens. Our new song, Like Love, is like that too.
Really? Okay, what, it just came?
Yeah, I was literally, I often stay up late. I was turning off the lights, packing away my laptop, and it's got this old folky tune. It almost felt like some tune that already exists, and sometimes a tune too, just makes words just pour out of you, which like doesn't always happen. And I like open my laptop back up, and I think I wrote like maybe 5 or 6 verses.
You write the lyrics?
No instrument. I could
right.
hear the tune in my head, and I just start writing words to the tune.
Yeah.
And that song has like, it's almost like, I think maybe Bob Dylan calls it like a list song, like where it's like there's no chorus, it's just like a concept that wraps up the same way each time.
That is so interesting you said Bob Dylan, because I was listening to the song on the way over here and I was thinking to myself, like, I'm not a huge my mum is a huge Bob Dylan fan, loves Bob Dylan. I like Bob Dylan. I don't necessarily wouldn't say I'm number one fan, but for some reason it just kept coming to me. I'm like, feels there's something Bob Dylan-y about it, right?
Yeah. And I love that, simple, folky kind of template.
Yeah.
And it just came so quick, and I went to bed, and in the morning I got up, got the guitar, figured out how to play it, and just kind of edited it to make, 3 good verses instead of 6 meandering ones.
Yeah.
And that was another one where you're like, that was really easy. Yeah.
That's so cool. Are there ones sometimes where you take it and you think it's going to be really great, and then like the band or something don't agree? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, that would have happened. I definitely... you write a surplus of stuff. There's always stuff on the scrap heap. And I don't think it's so much that, like, the band is ever, like, immediately, like, not receptive to it. I don't think we have that dynamic. Like, everything sort of gets a shot, and they're... I love them. They're probably my biggest fans and supporters, that's how we get stuff done. So we give most things a shot. And I think more we can sense as a group when something just, doesn't cut the mustard.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then, because you take it and then they kind of add their own sort of,
Yeah, I mean, it's always different. There's no single recipe.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes if I am... feeling it or can be bothered, I will do like a whole demo just roughly with like lots of instruments if I've got a real idea of how I want the whole song to sound. Other times I'll come in the very, old-fashioned way with just my acoustic and say, I wrote this, and we'll just start playing it together. And
so great.
Now that we've played for long enough too, I feel like we try to have less discussion and let the music be, that's where it all gets sorted out. Like, let's just play, let's just do our natural thing and not talk about it a great deal and see how that sounds.
And you do all this in your studio in Brisbane? Like, is that where it kind of all comes together?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. There's like is there a story? There's a guy, are you still in that studio and there's a guy that owns it and just kind of gave it to you to use the space or something?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, Scott Hutchinson, the building guy, who's like a massive supporter of Brisbane music and just music in general. He's been involved in getting like some of Brisbane's like awesome like newish venues up and running. And when we left our old studio space, we hit him up to be like, hey, you're a music lover and obviously would be connected to lots of buildings in the city. You got anywhere that might be a suitable space? And they helped us get into our space.
It's just so great when people like want to support the arts in ways that they can, regardless of whether or not they actually are a musician or maybe in the arts themselves, but I just find those people so interesting and fascinating.
Yeah, well, I think I was at a party and some friends had like met him or worked with him or interacted with him, and they were just like, he's such a legend, like such a like interesting kind of eccentric person who just really froths music.
So cool.
And I was like, I'm going to send him an email.
Yeah. Well, shoot my shot. Why not? Totally. In like a lot of lyrics to songs, so my examples are Nice to Be Alive, Exactly How You Are, Everything Is Shit Except My Friendship, and Perfect Life. I feel like when you like listen to these songs as a listener, if you're having like a bad day, there's so many ballpark songs that you kind of turn to that like make you feel as though somebody else has gone through a similar thing to you, or I don't know, there's a lot of I guess the messaging in songs is really comforting, and I'm wondering if that's like ever like why do you write to that way, or do you intend to write that way with people and the audience in mind, or I don't know, like...
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like feels outside of my control, like people say similar things over the years, that the band is joyous or uplifting or comforting and stuff like that, which I love to hear it, but there's definitely not like the starting point. It feels like however people feel about it is just, that just plays out naturally. I think that initial moment where you're trying to write or you're seeking inspiration, it's very important to me that that's just authentic and not overthought. Like, that you don't have your audience in mind, not in a disrespectful way, but like it just has to be. It has to be born of, some true feelings.
Of course,
and then, after a while you amass enough songs and you're like, all right, maybe I have a thing or some shtick that like I'm not even consciously aware of. I guess I'm a like pretty joyous person overall. Like certainly when I'm with people, like I love to be with people, but I definitely have the other side too. I'm prone to spiraling
You're a human
down.
being.
And being quite melancholic and moody as well. So, I guess I hope that light and shade is like in the songs as well.
Yeah, I just find, I don't know, I mean, I always talk to Ollie about this because he listens to the music and the instruments in the songs where I love like the build of it, but lyrically I just find if I can connect with the lyrics in a song, I find, and I think that that's a massive reason why I'm such a big Ballpark fan, is the lyrics to songs are just so, I don't know, you just always feel like there's a little element of something in there that you've experienced before. And I guess, and I guess to that, you can't write to those people, because if you're writing for someone or to please the audience, it probably wouldn't come out in the same way.
Yeah, I literally saw a video of Rick Rubin in an interview last night saying that like you need to almost have the audience as the last people in mind. Like you have to be writing primarily for yourself. That is how you make true art. Any product that's created with the audience in mind, he said, that's commerce, that's not art.
Totally.
And I definitely agree with that sentiment. And again, it's not in a disrespectful way. If anything, it's the opposite. You're like seeking that truth and that authenticity, knowing that that's what audiences actually connect with and are looking for. That you don't want to receive a product where you feel like it was created for you.
Totally. To be fit like a square into a square hole sort of thing. It's
yes,
not,
exactly.
A lot of your songs, like Alligator and Cherub, I'll use as examples, they kind of have this like massive build to them at the end. And I know you're a massive Radiohead fan, which a lot of their songs tend to do sort of a similar thing. Do you think that the reasoning for those builds in those songs and for throughout like your catalogue is because of the Radiohead influence?
Yeah, and a bunch of other bands. Like I definitely had a huge obsession with like post-rock when I was about probably 18, 19. Sigur Rós is like one that comes straight to mind, as well as like a few instrumental bands. I was really into a band called Explosions in the Sky. And that's kind of their template, is like soft, really big. And I also think in our band, just something we do naturally is get big and loud. Like that's almost something we have to fight against. So even when we create a song like, say, Cherub as an example, which for the most part is kind of like a little folk ditty for 3 minutes, and somehow we can't seem to hold off just the
oh my god, but it's the best part of it. Cherub is just such a, I remember the first time I heard it, I was babysitting and I had this little like 2-year-old and we were playing the song and it built, and I just, every time I would the babysit, I'd play Cherub over and over and over again. And this little boy loved it, and it was like I'd wake him up from the nap, I'd put Cherub on. It was like, and it's just the build to that song is so memorable, right? Like it's
it's easily like our favorite part of the live show too. Like we've been playing it last recently, and that final chorus, they've patiently waited, and you can just sense the energy from the crowd. Now, that like it's actually funny once it finally hits that climax. We also feel the energy dissipate. Like it's really the anticipation that gets people like in this euphoric state. And once we get there, it's like eases a bit.
Oh, interesting. It's like everybody's like, oh, it's gonna happen, and then they just kind of like, okay, we got there.
Once it's actually exploded and going off, like I think there's no way for them to sustain it. They're just kind of like,
And then back to Radiohead, like, can you talk me through, because you did them for like a version, and that was, I guess, a couple of years ago. It was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Would you say Radiohead's like your ultimate favorite band of all time?
After the Beatles.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And is that kind of listening to that music what made you want to be a musician, do you think?
So my family are not musicians, but my dad in particular is a huge music lover, and grew up in a house where music was always playing, and so me and my sister like just loved music, and our parents would let us choose records, and we'd rummage through the record collection, and I was, when you're a kid and you're sort of hunting for a hobby or some activity, and I was dreadful at sport, and my parents bought me a little acoustic guitar when I was 10, and I started learning that, and I was still just, what 10-year-olds are like. I hadn't found a passion or anything yet. I just kind of took some lessons, and it was like probably the first thing that kind of came a bit naturally to me. And by the end of primary school, start of high school, I felt like I was really starting to like love it. And from there, the whole thing just kind of
Did your
explodes.
Parents put you through music lessons and things, or like?
Yeah, so we had so the family that lived next door to me when I was growing up, they had 3 kids. 2 of them were sons who were learning guitar, and they had this lovely man called Noel who used to visit their house every Monday night and give them a guitar lesson. He'd drive from Byron Bay to their house.
Really?
Yeah, and I remember the lessons were $10.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he used to go and teach them, and then he'd pop next door to our house, and we'd give him his $10, and he'd teach me guitar. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he was like the kindest spirit. I can't remember his surname. I have no idea where he is, if he's alive or anything.
Wow, wouldn't it be cool to find him?
Yeah. I did visit him in hospital when I was a teenager. He was sick. So, if you're out there, Noel, I hope you're well, and thank you for making a big difference in my life.
Yeah.
But, he really, I guess, had a kind of unorthodox approach to music lessons, which was more about fostering a love of music. Like, there was no theory. Like, he'd come in, I'd pick a record from Dad's record collection. We'd play it. He'd learn the song by ear, just on the spot, and then he'd teach me the song. So it was really just pick a song. He'd figure it out. He'd teach me.
Wow, isn't that amazing? Because that's such a great way for you to then be able to like train your ear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like he seemed like a wizard to me and Dad. Like that just seemed like this supernatural skill that I'd never acquire. But that is definitely like the main way I work out music is by ear. Yeah.
Totally. So would your dad sit in on the music lesson?
Yeah, he'd hang out. Yeah, and like, I mean, the poor guy, we were probably meant to have a 30-minute lesson or something, but he'd literally just stay for hours and hours and we just chat about music.
That's so great.
Like he must have had no place to be, and it was just a legend.
So cool, because then it would feel, I guess, for your dad, like being able to see your, like even just you playing live or something, that your dad has been just so involved since the start then.
Yeah, Dad's my number one fan for sure. You know, I have to beg him to not wear a ballpark music shirt when we go out in public.
Oh my God, really? That sounds exactly like Ollie's dad coming out of the. Did you see him coming out of the lime show in Melbourne?
No, I didn't.
He had the lime bucket hat on, a lime hoodie around his tied around his neck, a lime t-shirt, and I was like, oh my God, here comes Bill Limeback. Like it's so great.
It's adorable.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
If you had to pick for your next a version, do you know what you guys would do?
Oh, geez, we've done a few now. I guess no is the short answer. These are the kinds of decisions which are definitely, a group consensus thing. Like we all might come in with suggestions where, as individuals, like we might feel like, I really want to do this, but you're really hunting for something that kind of clicks
of course,
with everybody.
Because you want everybody to feel like it's it equally as involved in the love of it, right?
Yeah. And every time we've done it, we've sort of tried a lot of songs. It can be quite an excruciating process. You're hunting for something that the 5 of you feel passionate about, and then something that the radio station's going to feel passionate about, blah, blah, blah. So I have no idea.
Yeah. Would you want to do another one, do you think?
I'd never say no.
Yeah. It's such a fun process, I would imagine, being able to, I don't know, put yourself into another musician's feet. And I liked the way that you said, because I was watching the Radiohead one, and you were talking about how you don't try to change the song unless it happens naturally, which I kind of think is really interesting.
Yeah, sometimes I think we've felt a bit insecure because our covers have been typically very true to the original, but I don't know, that's just kind of our personality. It almost feels like you're at the pub or a party or a wedding and people are like, just play this song. Like you just kind of just want to play it as is, you know.
At the same time though, I guess having different musicians play the song naturally, it already is a completely different version, you know, with your own voice and the tone of your voice and everything.
I think so. Yeah. For me, I'm like, that's enough. Just hearing them do it and, you know, their own little natural things will shine through. We're just not the kind of band that's like, let's pull it all apart and reassemble it in some creative way. Like we just kind of can't be fucked.
Totally. Fair enough. Did you know that you always wanted to do music, or was there anything else that you ever wanted to do?
When I was very young, I thought I was going to become a professional skateboarder.
Yeah. Did you really?
That was my first true love, skateboarding.
Cool. Do you still skate?
Very rarely, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Now I have children, you know, I take my oldest daughter to the skate park and she rides her scooter and I'm back on the board a little bit. And I have one close friend who's also, you know, grew up loving skating. So we went just the other week, but you know, at this age, it's pretty humble.
Yeah. I know my dad got given a skateboard once for Christmas, and then on Boxing Day we lived in like a cul-de-sac. Boxing Day, skating in the cul-de-sac, broke his wrist and never got back on the skateboard again.
It's high stakes.
Yeah,
now.
It is. Yeah, totally.
But definitely by the end of high school, like leaving home kind of age, I had a singular vision for my life. You know, I was very, you know, kind of pig-headed about it, and like. You kind of look back and laugh at how pig-headed you could be at that age. But part of me is like, I think I probably needed a bit of that.
100%.
Like, you know, obviously pursuing music, again, is high stakes. Like it's just the kind of thing where more people want to do it than people that kind of can, you know, say make a living from doing it. But I was just fixated on the idea. And,
Is that what you went to university for, was for music?
Yeah, studied music, yeah.
So everybody in the band studied music at uni?
That's right.
Yeah. Jen does a lot of like, I guess you would say backing vocals, right? Because your voices work so beautifully together. Is there, like, how did that sort of naturally come about?
Yeah, well, I remember meeting Jen. Like when we met at uni, we were like, you know what uni's like. You're in a bunch of weird classes and group projects and stuff, and we kind of got thrown together, which is also hilarious in retrospect that we're still here to this day. And we did a few weeks playing together, and Jen wasn't in the group, and we had no bass player.
Oh.
And then the teacher came in one day. And it's like, this is Jen, she's in your group now. I think at the time, you know, we were pretty much still teenage boys. We were like, oh, you know, a girl in our band, what the hell, you know? It's just like, had a pretty narrow vision of like what making music could be. But that was the best thing that ever happened, you know?
Wow.
Like, and Jen, like just being Jen, she's like, what do you need? We're like, we don't have a bass player. She's like literally never played a bass in her life, just like slaps a bass on and is still here to this day.
That's
playing
amazing.
the bass. But she's one of those people that is just like, has music in her bones. It's like scary. Like she really can just play anything and just is such a musical person. But yeah, the singing element, like you asked, like, because I kind of was in some bands in high school and they're all shy teenage boys. No one wants to sing. I kind of just ended up being singer man, which I kind of begrudgingly did as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I guess by the time I finished school and left home, I was starting to enjoy singing and get more into music that had singing as a focus. And I had never had anyone to sing harmony with. I was just kind of getting the hang of singing harmonies myself. And yeah, when Jen came into my life, like we just instantly clicked. And I remember thinking like, I've been looking for this. Like, and I remember like we became friends really quickly. And I used to go to her house and we just like pick songs and sing them. And I remember just thinking, I'm in heaven. Like this singing harmony with this person is like so easy, and I've never got to do this before.
Amazing.
And we've done it for so long. I almost forget she's there doing it sometimes, you know, like it's just something we're so used to.
Yeah.
It's like...
it's like you almost become like one.
Yeah. So sometimes people will ask about singing in harmony with Jen, and I'm like, I don't even know what to say. We just do it without thinking.
So I want to ask you about the pizzas.
Yeah, please.
Who are the pizzas?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know? You don't know anything? Yeah. I've seen a bit online. Is it is it a rivalry between you and the pizzas? I don't know.
Publicity beast thing. How do I explain this in a moment? Well, we did some, I think years ago, before we were going to be playing Splendor in the Grass and we hadn't done any shows for a while, we thought it would be good to do like a warm-up show so we wouldn't be too rusty going into the festival. And we thought, maybe we'll do like just a secret show at a club somewhere in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And we'll do it under a different name. And we chose the pizzas, you know, we all love pizza.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Totally.
Whenever we've travelled to a new city, whether it's in Australia or overseas, we pretty much always arrive in town and go for pizza and beer. We've just always done it. You know, it's just a classic move. So we called ourselves the Pizzas. All of us except for Paul have matching pizza tattoos.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's so great.
So it was just that. I don't think we thought much of it at first, but then, over the years, more and more weird little opportunities come up where you either want to play or you want to play a different kind of show, or because of weird exclusivity stuff with the band, you're like, well, let's just do a sneaky show under a different name. And then it just kept evolving and getting sillier. We made some stage names and, I started performing dressed as a waiter with the tea towel over my shoulder. We started ordering pizzas on stage.
Did you really?
The crowd.
You'd call the pizza restaurant?
Yeah. So we did that for the first time in Melbourne. Me and the tour manager were at the corner in Richmond, but in the afternoon we walked down to Domino's and said hey, a bit of a weird one, we're going to call you later tonight from on stage. It's going to be chaotic as hell, but it's a serious pizza order. Yeah. And the manager was stoked. He was like, we'd love to. So we ordered pizzas on stage, take the crowd's orders. And
oh, really? Oh, that's sick. That's so cool.
Yeah, and my character Tony Pepperoni, he treats the crowd really bad. The pizzas are real assholes. Anyway, we get the order, they deliver it to the gig, we throw the pizzas out into the audience.
I want to see the pizzas. I want to come so bad. Do the pizzas still tour?
Well, we've never done a tour, and the two rules of the pizzas is that we'll never play It's Nice to Be Alive, and we'll never play in Sydney.
Damn. That's okay. I can buy a plane ticket. That's easy. Yeah.
I'll put you on the door.
Yeah, sick. All right. I noticed, you don't really go touring overseas very often, right? You just sort of stay in Australia. Is that, talk me through the reasoning maybe behind that?
Yeah, so we did a lot of international touring between 2013 and sort of 2015. Doing all the usual spots. We went through Europe and UK multiple times. We did some trips to the US. And we had the time of our life, and things were going forward in those places, but not at the rate we really needed them to for it to justify it. We had a blast, but we definitely got to a point where we were we're spending a shitload of money to do this, and you're kind of reaching that age where you're I don't want to be broke forever,
Totally.
Especially when you're faced with the ultimatum of potentially not being able to do your music. You have to live. Yeah. So we never said let's stop doing it. We sort of were just let's take the pressure off that a bit and just focus on Australia. And without giving it too much thought, all these years have passed, and we've been able to enjoy a beautiful life of, recording and creating and touring music without having to leave Australia. And to be honest, part of us is I can't be fucked doing that. Like, I don't actually want to leave my family for like months and months on end. But we're nearly getting back to a point where we want to do it again.
Oh yeah,
just for, you know, the fun of it and for morale. Like we'll probably be back playing to really small crowds, but I think we want to do it for the sense of adventure and you know, camaraderie. And like I said at the start of this interview, like it is invigorating to play before an audience that like is not familiar with you or doesn't know what they're in for. Like we did some shows in New Zealand in 2022, which was our first trip overseas in some time, and you know, just across the ditch. But yeah, really like we were like, that was good. That kind of like awakened something in us. So yeah, I think we want to go back to Europe maybe next year if we can. You know, play to rooms of 20 or 30 Australians probably.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that's kind of amazing, right? Like when there's like a small crowd, you can also like after the set go and speak and hang with people and I don't know, get them within the community, which would be pretty special as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, respect to those people that keep smashing it. Like I respect the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it just became less of a priority. Sometimes you got to accept like, we literally live on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
Like we live on this
really
island at the bottom of this big globe.
Yes.
Like those places are like
so far,
a long way away.
It takes a week before you're even like acclimatized to that, and then to get home is another week. Not to mention the weeks that you're actually there. It's an ordeal, and on your body and everything. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Back to having children though. Ollie was telling me, we've been talking about you a lot, but Ollie was telling me that you bounce ideas off your daughter.
Yeah.
Or like songs off your daughter?
Yeah, she's probably like my number one wingman at this point. Yeah, like she's 5.5 now. And
what's her name?
Enid.
Enid.
Yeah. And yeah, she's we're pretty similar. Yeah, we butt heads a fair bit actually because we're so alike.
Oh really?
Yeah. My wife sometimes says, "You're yelling at yourself," you know. But she's really got a creative spirit and she loves music, and yeah, surprising how much time it's just me and her driving in the car in Brisbane. So yeah, we take turns picking songs. Like she wants to pick stuff that kids would like, and then I'll introduce her to music that I like, and I'll share stuff that I'm working on, like my own music, or I'll show her other bands that I've recorded in the studio, and we just talk about music. And yeah, I love it so much.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Is there bands that you've shared with her that she loves that you didn't expect her to love or anything?
Yeah, so I loved... I think I had a special moment, like I made a little playlist for her, and I put a song by Big Thief in there, which was kind of like one of my choices.
Yeah.
And then I think that was the first time I sort of caught her like singing it in the back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's actually remembered this song, and she's singing along to it and just enjoying it. And of course, she doesn't differentiate between whether it's from Disney or whether it's like some cool indie band or whatever. So that was quite touching, realizing she's going to appreciate potentially anything. So yeah, lately we've been getting into scary music. So I've been showing her like metal and stuff that I listened to as a teenager. Like she really likes "Freak on a Leash" by Korn.
Oh really? Does she really? That's so funny.
Yeah, well, you know, kids make silly sounds and stuff.
Totally,
and I was
that makes
like,
sense.
I got a song where the singer makes some silly sounds, you know. So she's got a really open mind, and it's like, yeah, really refreshing for me seeing music through a child's eyes.
Totally, like a new lens on
reset.
it. 100%. So I have a bowl of fortune cookies here. Viewer questions inside. Take your pick.
Thank you. I kind of want to eat it.
Yeah, it might be a bit stale. Is it stale?
Aren't they always stale?
I don't know.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? That's a funny question. Well, I grew up by the sea in Lennox Head, and I was kind of like really eager to get out of the place by the time I finished school, because I wanted to do music and be in a city. I felt like I'd borderline turned my back on, you know, this kind of surfy town. I was like, I've had enough. You know, I wasn't really a surfy person. And then, Yeah, it's funny how much home is like this really strong spiritual part of you. Like you can never turn the feeling off. I can't help but still have this strong feeling that I may want to return there.
Yeah.
Even though it's become like the most expensive
Yeah,
place
I know,
on
right?
earth.
Yeah.
And then I've lived in Brisbane, which for many years I had no strong affinity for. It felt like a very practical choice. And in many ways, there's still lots of things about Brisbane that annoy me. Like I visit other Australian cities and I'm like, God damn it, Brisbane, why can't you be a bit prettier? Brisbane really feels like home now and is an exceptional place. And I feel like it is defined by its people rather than its buildings or its beaches or whatever. You know, it's really a feeling between the other people in Brisbane.
Cool.
And it's like, it counts for a lot. But I do love pretty places. Me and my wife always are like, God damn, we got to live somewhere beautiful in our life, you know, somewhere truly where every day, you know, you're just inspired by what you see. So it's hard to kill that dream of, you know, living in Paris or something like that, which is like so over the top and kind of an obvious choice. But like, that's another dream that lives within inside me. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see you in 10 years. You'll be fluent in French and
I wouldn't count on it.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate your time. It's been so much. It's been, an actual dream for me. So it's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cool. Yay.